If it is or if it ain't, it's going to come out. Good morning, everybody. It's your girl, Miracle Sims, and you are listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration and juice. It is September the 5th, 2023, and today the topic is, where my girls at? In my Jesus Christ voice. Yo, I know it's late again. I know. But y'all, I mean, I guess right place, right time, no complaints for me, hopefully no complaints for you guys. Hopefully whoever listens to this will be encouraged and inspired at whatever time you hear this. But anywho, where my girls at in my Jesus Christ voice? I know y'all want to know where this came from. If I just tell y'all real quick about yesterday, nothing too much. NJ had a class. Actually, I was doing a lot of different things. So by the end of the day, I was like, did I take a nap today? But I'm like, no, I didn't, because NJ had a class. Then right after that, I started working on a task, a project, or whatever, and then doing a lot of stuff with that. And then next thing I know, the main highlights is I know I got on a call, and so then, after talking and whatnot, and then I realized I hadn't even eaten, and it just this whole thing. But anyway. That's what my day looked like in a nutshell. I could have just saved that. Y'all didn't even have to know that part. But anyway, let's get into this conversation, y'all. Because I mean, I feel pretty good about it. But I mean, we're going to see what the Lord do. But I definitely feel like it's a needed and necessary topic. So where my girls at in my Jesus Christ voice? So, okay, here's the inspiration. Basically, I would say that the inspiration partially came from a conversation I had last week and also yesterday. I think y'all might know already, but I check in with my homegirl Summer on Mondays and whatnot. We talk. I mean, it's kind of like it started off as like a business check-in and stuff ever since she invited me to this mastermind that we went to. So we were just like, let's check in every week, see how we're going business-wise, see how we're going, life X, Y, and Z. And so, but it's become this thing where we just not only talk about those things, but then we just really go deep on the word. We really go deep about life and all these different things. So one of the things that we've been having a conversation about, I would say last week and this week, was this gap that needs to be fixed and filled. And I guess I was led to go deeper about this today because, I mean, obviously God gave me the topic to talk about. And then even when he gave me the name, I just was like, okay, Lord, because obviously I know that, y'all hear that name or that quote or that phrase, y'all probably think about that girl group singing that song, where my girls at, all that, right? But the thing is, y'all, I know that, okay. So I know that basically there's a lot of us, especially down here in the South, right? We have these fond memories. If you were like in the church and things like that, then most likely you have fond memories of like older women. You would see them maybe as like matriarchs and things like that. The women in the church, the mothers, right? The ones that might have been wearing the fancy hats, right? Or whatever the case may be. You have fond memories of Mud Deer or whatever you call your grandmama, right? You have fond memories of these women and how strong they were, how they held the families together, and how they, did what they had to do, whatever the case may be, right? And a lot of them had the spiritual wisdom as well, right? But in these days and times, I know, just like back in the day, I was like looking for the Elijahs of today. I'm like, man, where are the Elijahs of today? Where are the Moseses? And so I started doing a deep dive trying to find, those individuals, and I did, or whatever the case may be. But in these days and times, we may be looking for those type of women. Where are those women? If we let the world tell it, right? They're giving us another definition of what a quote unquote church girl looks like, right? A woman of God, and all these different type of things. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of women that are doing their thing and in position, right? So nothing against those. Matter of fact, shout out to my mama, because I would not be here today if not for her and her teachings and things that she's instilled in me. And who knows, maybe it's gone so far to where I don't know if I'm getting too deep or thinking too much or whatever the case may be. Because even sometimes too, when God be giving me this type of stuff to talk about, I'll be like, well, who am I to talk about it? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just getting started in the mother game, like as a mom. And I'm kind of still getting started in the wife game. I know we almost at 7 years now, but I'm still kind of fresh in that, right? So who am I to sit here and be like, where are the matriarchs and why y'all ain't doing what y'all supposed to be doing, But I mean, hey, I guess I'm just a living testimony of God using the willing, right? I mean, you guys can consider me a donkey today that He's allowing to talk. However, you guys want to look at at it or whatever the case may be, but I guess because I'm a willing vessel in this season, He's using me to remind us women that there is a void that we need to be filling. And everything like that. We need those Madirs. We need those big mamas. We need the matriarchs, right, to fill their positions that God has given them, because there's a gap and there's a disconnect. And people are trying to figure out things on their own, especially young women. And we see what the options are, right? Y'all favorite artist came out with a song recently called Church Girls That Don't Have Nothing to Do about being a church girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so there's just so many things, right? There's so many different things that are trying to influence the women. So yeah, this conversation is for women, but at the same time, I feel like maybe perhaps men can benefit from hearing this, because maybe you guys can know what type of woman to wife, right? What type of woman to seek and things of that nature. Because the word has plenty to say about all of this. It has plenty to say to wives. It has plenty to say to women. It has plenty to say to men about women and everything like that, to where, I mean, again, when you reading, I know people take issue with what the Bible has to say to women. And obviously, again, anytime you look up women, you're going to see all the things that come up, and you probably feel some way about it. You probably feel like, man, this is pulp. I don't like it, whatever the case may be. But there's a lot of things, and I think what I feel like the Lord was revealing to me today is how much power we have as women and influence that we have as women. And that's why we need good women. That's why we need God-fearing women. That's why we need women of God. That's why Jesus, I believe, is saying today, where's my girls at? Because y'all, I mean, we're needed. We're needed out here. And, I mean, I don't know why I got to be the one to tell you, but here I am, the humble servant, reminding us all today. So, and it's the same for men, right? So if you are a man listening to me, I'm not trying to exert no authority over you. You know what I'm saying? I'm just telling you what I studied today. So put the men, think of yourself. If you want to continue to listen to me talk about this, think of yourself. And how does this, apply to you? Is this about the wife that you need to find? Is this about, you, right, and your rightful place, things of that nature. Let the Lord reveal whatever He wants to reveal to you through me, by any means. But yeah, this one I guess for the ladies, technically. Where my girls at in my Jesus voice. Let's get into it. So Genesis 2:18. It says, "Then the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make a helper fit for him. You know what? As I was writing that verse down this morning and reading that verse this morning, there was just so much revelation just in that one verse to me, you know? So let's look at it. Let's take a little deep dive into it, y'all. Okay. So basically, if you guys are familiar with Genesis, y'all know that like all this creation was happening, and he's like, this is good, that's good, this is good, that's good, right? He made man and then said very good, if I'm not mistaken. Y'all can go back and make sure I'm saying it all correct. But you know, up until this point to this verse I just read, that's what was going on. This is good, that's good, this is good, that's good. You know, oh, let's make man, this is very good, X, Y, and Z, right? And then at this point, he says, it's not good. So, I mean, I don't know. Let's just let that marinate. At this point, after he did all of that and made all this good stuff, he says it's not good. Now, I know we all think that we can be independent, right? I know we all think that we can just do it ourselves and on our own. I know I've been there, right? I've done a lot of things alone because I, you know, just feel like, man, if I don't do it, ain't nobody gonna do it. So let me do it, you know? But me and my husband actually was talking about this the other day, about this, like, I believe that God made us this way in a way to like force us to fellowship, right? Forcing us to be in relationship with one another as we also need to be in relationship with him. As a reminder that being alone, and it's not just the aloneness, but it's like the fellowship or all of that is good. And so he says it's not good for man to be alone. Now, at that point, he could have just picked anything, right? You know, and you know, he could have just said, okay, you know, we call the dog man's best friend, right? So he could have just, oh, go ahead and just have the dog as a best friend. Like he could have he had all kinds of creation already created, you know? But yet he says, let me make. All right, let me read it again. I'll make sure I'm saying it right. He says, let me see, where is it? He says, I will make a helper fit for him. So he didn't just choose just anything. He said, I'm going to make a helper fit for him. Now, whether you want to consider she was a brand new creation or, you know, he did take from the rib X, Y, and Z. So maybe she wasn't brand new in that regard. He didn't go form some dirt outside of Adam or whatever the case is and do it all again and make woman. He took it from the man to make the woman. However, still, right, he made a helper fit for him. I know people want to debate that. You know, people want to debate that idea about whether that's true. Is the woman the true helper of the man? That's a whole nother conversation. You know, y'all can go deeper with that. I know this is GSL. I don't even know if we really tackled all of that. But hey, you know, that's a whole nother conversation. We're just talking about our purpose as women, okay? So, anywho, says, let me make him a helper suitable for him, and he made woman, right? Now, we all know what happened. Y'all know what happened, right? Adam and Eve, everything like that. So here's one of the first things that was standing out to me this morning as I was writing down this next part. Again, I don't have to go too deep into what all happened. Y'all know that the fruit, da-da-da-da-da. Shout out to my sis, Miss April, tuning in this morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, good morning. Look, where my girls at in my Jesus voice? Look, are you hearing the call, sis? Where you at? Look, you a matriarch. I mean, well, you a mother as well, you know. So this could fit you. But yeah, you know, so yeah, basically, we all know what happened, right? We know what happened. Basically, you know, the situation, Adam and Eve, X, Y, and Z. Now, here's the thing. And this is, out of all the stuff that the Bible says, and I know that people, again, they take issue with what the Bible has to say about women, and they like to push the narrative that, oh, the patriarchy, and oh, it gives the impression like men are over the women, da, 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 da. But let's be reminded of the first woman and how much influence she had over the man. Did we forget about that? It affected everything, the influence that she had over him. So there is a lot of power and authority that a woman has. obviously, with our man, right, and with our household and our children, all these type of stuff, right? We ain't even got into that part yet, but you guys can go deeper if you guys need to be reminded of why things are in place the way they are in regards to the man and the woman, and even with the headship and covering, that doesn't make her less than the man. It just makes her different than the man. I understand that I'm different than my husband and he's different from me, and it both works together in a beautiful way, in my little humble opinion. So I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with being different, right? Uh-oh. All right, so my sister April, this is what she's saying to me this morning. She says, "Hello, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Lately, these men are weapons and being used as such." Ooh. Ooh. Well, listen, again, yeah, the men, they're not in their rightful place and position too. And, everybody's struggling out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all humans, we all fall short, we all sin, and, X, Y, and Z. So, I mean, yeah, it can feel that way. And I can understand that. Yeah, it can definitely feel that way. But hopefully this will help. Hopefully this conversation will help. I mean, again, it is for the women, but at the same time, hopefully the men will get activated, right, to understand, again, their positioning and how much, again, they should be covering the woman, right? Covering the wife, making sure that, protectors and all these different things, like being in their leadership role. If you truly want to be a leader, right, then lead. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that real women will submit to a true leader. I mean, I don't know. I mean, hey, but that's a whole other conversation. We're just talking about this right now. I definitely wanted to just acknowledge my sister and what she was saying here. But yeah, so again, women, we have a lot of influence. We have a lot of influence over men. And again, Eve is that example of just how much influence we had over the man. And so yeah, God did put certain things in place to be like, okay, so because this happened as now I don't know if it was a contingency, I don't know if it was like a punishment, whatever, however you want to look at it, but it was like, man, you're going to be, because you submitted X, Y, and Z, and basically he didn't have the backbone. I know this, I called this out in previous juice, but I feel like basically what Adam should have probably did, and this is just me making an observation, he should have said, "Woman, I already told you that God said we weren't supposed to eat it, X, Y, and Z," and maybe took a stick and hit it from her hand or whatever. He was supposed to exert some authority and X, Y, and Z, and be like, nah, X, Y, and Z, and maybe some things would be different. I don't know, but he didn't do that neither. So she fell and he fell too, right? So anyway, why we go so deep about that, Lord? Anyway, I mean, so basically, basically in the Go Deeper section, you guys gonna see Genesis 3, 16 and 17, and it pretty much, oh Lord, April went, okay, I gotta see what April is talking to me about. Now, hold on, sis. Let me talk to the people about this here. But Genesis 3, 16 and 17 basically is talking about, it's God's declaration over them after that, right? Man, you're going to be basically forced to be the head. Now you're forced to be the head, and you have to work by the sweat of your brow, X, Y, and Z, all this type of stuff, right? And then the woman, you're going to have to be submissive to the man, because you had this influence over the man. And not to say that it takes away from our influence, because we still got influence over the man. You can see all through the Bible different places where the women still had influence over the man. So, I mean, that's just something to think about, y'all. I don't know why I had to go so deep about that right now. But, I mean, I just think, again, because of those narratives and people trying to make it seem like the Bible doesn't give women authority, or that women don't have any type of whatever. Like, they're trying to lower women. And I feel like that's just a distraction of the enemy to try to thwart God's plan, vision, and wisdom and everything like that. So y'all go deeper about all that on your own. Here's another verse that I feel led to share this morning. It's Proverbs 31 and 26. It says, "She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue." So again, like I was talking about earlier, the matriarchs, those ladies, that gap that is missing, and then things like that. we have a lot of women today that, it's like we're struggling here because it's like without the guidance and without and things like that, then we're just kind of, I guess, trying to find our way or whatever the case may be. And again, if we're looking at mainstream media, or if we're looking at, what the enemy uses, right, to influence us, it's saying everything the opposite, right? It's trying to keep us secluded, independent, X, Y, and Z. It's trying to break up the relationship between the man and the woman, like my sister was just talking about. Making us feel like, okay, we're enemies rather than being a helpmate and complementary. All these different things, and so we need women, right, of substance. We need women that are speaking with wisdom and teaching and kindness and things like that, in order to really truly influence and change the trajectory of what we see going on in these days and times. Speaking of wisdom, y'all, here's another reminder about, again, how much influence that we have as women. Right. I'm going deeper about all this, right? And I was going to gotquestions.org and looking into a lot of different articles and stuff. And I came across this one, and it was about Solomon. And and y'all know that Solomon was one of the wisest men to ever walk the earth. I would say Jesus probably was the wisest, obviously, because he was God in the flesh. But Solomon was up there. Probably not. Maybe he was right under Jesus. Who knows? I don't know. But basically, here's this article. Y'all can read it if y'all want to. I did take a look at it today and was reading it. But it says, why didn't Solomon follow his own advice about women? If you guys look in Proverbs, there's a lot to be said about like women and quarrelsome women versus, all this different type of stuff. Y'all can go deeper about all of that again. But here's one thing that really stood out to me this morning as I was reading this this article. And I guess it was because they had a few ways to answer the question. It was saying that, overall, there's no clear answer to why he didn't follow his own advice, or the things that he received, the wisdom that he knew about women. Why didn't he follow that? Because, he had all the concubines and all the time. I think at 600 or 700, however many, right? So obviously he was definitely out of the will of God and things like that. But anywho, this is what really stood out to me this morning. And I did one of them little shouts, man, when I saw it this morning. I was like, wow. Because it's so true. But here it is. It says, there is a difference between having knowledge and applying knowledge. Y'all, there is a difference between having knowledge and applying knowledge. Obviously, even though the wisest of us all, right? One of the wisest of us all still fell short. Again, we all human. We all fall short, X, Y, and Z. None of us are ever going to be perfect, right? Again, that's another reason why we need Christ, right? But what I'm saying is, we can have wisdom, but if we don't apply it, then you're not going to see change. You're not going to see it's activated in your life. It's just something and things like that. And so again, I believe that this is something that is happening when it comes to this conversation about women. Like, there are matriarchs, there are grandmothers here in these days. There are women, right, that they may have knowledge, but either if they're not sharing it or applying it, then what good is it? And so like I said earlier, there's a gap. There's a gap when it comes to the matriarchs. And and we know that people are getting older, and we know that it's inevitable that we're going to die and things like that until the Lord comes back. It's Y and Z. And so the thing is, it's like we need to raise up like women of wisdom, women of substance, women of God. We need to rise up and and teach and influence. If you truly because we have the influence, we do. But I don't think we're using it in the right way. We're trying to use it in every other way instead of God's way. For some reason. It looks like my sister's gone here, but I guess I'll read what she was telling me to. I'll read that to y'all later. But anywho, let me keep going with this conversation, y'all. So, 1 Corinthians 7:34. This is what it says. It says, and his interests are divided, and the unmarried or betrothed woman is anxious about the things of the Lord, how to be holy in body and spirit. But the married woman is anxious about worldly things, how to please her husband. So, I mean, again, this might be pulp. I don't know. But there, basically what I received as I was writing this morning is that whether you're married or not, right, there's work to do. Again, if you're unmarried, again, I had to learn this myself. Because I was single and I was just like, Lord, where's my husband? I'm ready to get married now. All this different stuff, right? And ultimately what I learned, or what I had to glean right through the time that the Lord was taking me through my journey, is to understand that, there's plenty of work that I needed to do. I needed to do some work within to prepare myself for this time. I needed to, be praying for my husband in advance, right? I needed to be doing things of God as well, right? Becoming closer to Him, and and seeking again His will, His way for my life, and things like that. So there's plenty to do, even as a single woman, right? So you don't have to feel like, oh, well, the Bible is only referring to wives. They talk about the Proverbs 31 woman and all that type of stuff. These are wives and X, Y, Z. I'm not a wife yet, blah, 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 blah. And that's a whole nother conversation, because, yeah, y'all, I believe that I believe majority of us women desire to be wives, or desire to be married. But then I don't know if we're ready to be wives. And things like that. Again, there's things I'm still learning. Now, I'm not sitting here trying to act like I got it all together and I know everything too. Like, basically over these years, I've had to humble myself, right? I've had to be patient. I've had to learn all these different things, for me, yes, and as well for my husband. And so, there's plenty to be done as a single woman, right? And what you should be focused on is things of God, and what it's saying there. Now, married women, yeah, there's more responsibilities. You have to, deal with the concerns of your husband. Obviously, you have the household and things like that. And then there's still work to be done in the kingdom as well, So, speaking of that, and this is why I say, again, that gap that the world currently it just seems to have when it comes to, again, the big mamas, the mothers, the matriarchs, however you want to look at them, whatever you want to call them, right? That gap needs to be filled, and this is what these ladies need to be doing. Now, again, I don't know. I still feel like I'm a young one here, but I mean, here's what we need to be doing, right? Titus 2:4-5, it says, "And so train the young women to love their husbands." Can we stop right there? We struggling with that. We struggling with even, having good relationships or whatever the case may be. We struggle with love in general. So loving our husbands is something that obviously needs to be taught. And again, even with the conversation I was having yesterday, I was just like, I had to learn how to still love my husband. And don't get me wrong, I've been loving my husband. What I'm saying, I have to still show love, right, to my husband, even when he may not be doing what I think he should be doing, right? Or if he, whatever, or if there's times where maybe I feel like he might be falling short in this area or that area, X, Y, and Z, but I still have to show love. I still have to, be, I guess, his peace and different things like that. I still have to be who God called me to be, regardless of what my husband is doing, and vice versa. The man and the husband should also be doing that for his wife. Now we struggle with that, and we don't always do that, but because we like to do tit for tat. Like, if you do this, then I'll do that. If you show me this, then I'll show you that. No, it's like, I guess I'm trying to talk to some the single women about, go ahead and flex that muscle. And even if it's not, that's a whole nother thing though, man. This single woman, married woman conversation is so deep. But anyway, let's just focus on the matriarchs right now. I'm sorry, y'all. Let's focus on the matriarchs. So the first part with these ladies, these matriarchs, we need to be, teaching young women how to love their husbands and children, okay? Then also it says to be self-controlled. So we got to teach the women. This is for men too. Y'all need it too. Y'all need all this too. But we're talking to the women right now because Jesus said where my girls at. So teaching self-control, right? Teaching purity. It says to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind, and submissive to their own husbands. And that, again, I touched on this in the past. It doesn't mean that every man has an authority over every woman. That doesn't mean that. To their own husband, X, Y, and Z. So let's just be clear about that. But anywho, And then it ends up with that the word of God may not be reviled. So, I mean, there's plenty of work to be done in the kingdom overall, y'all. I mean, this is just a little shout out to the women right now. Just a nice little subtle reminder, that there's plenty of space and opportunity for women to, do work in the kingdom. If we have plenty of influence over men and our husbands, and obviously it's mentioned in the Bible, but we can see that all around us. If you really look at the different issues of life and stuff, sometimes it has to do with what men are trying to do for a woman, or X, Y, and Z, or men wanting to be women, or vice versa. Like it's a whole thing. Again, there's all kinds of confusion when it comes to being outside of the will of God, right? But for those that are in the will, there's just a gap here that, women, we need training, right? We need to be encouraged and inspired. We need, women. I know we're so used to the idea, I guess, of the independent woman, or the single woman, or the single mother, or the type of woman that has to, do everything and be everything, and all this type of stuff. And don't get me wrong, yeah, the Proverbs 31 woman, she can be very intimidating when you read all that stuff. You're like, man, she do all that? But I mean, it's possible, right? And it's within us. And I believe that that's what God wants us to do. You guys can go deeper with all of this. There's plenty to be said to women in the Bible. Plenty to be said to wives and things like that. Mothers, you guys can go deeper with all of these different subjects and see what the Lord is sharing with you all today. But this is ultimately the juice, y'all. At the end of the day, there's a gap that needs to be filled. And women, we got to step up and fill it, Instead of trying to fill the man's position, fill your own position. Just stay in your position. Like, even with, how can I say this, Lord? Like, okay, I tell y'all something I've been learning or trying to do, right? I think y'all know this already, right? But I'm just going to share this as a testimony, because I'm just trying to share, hopefully to encourage and inspire, right? So I'm sure y'all know that still, I know I told y'all before, but my husband doesn't always go to church. Y'all know I go every Sunday now. I mean, basically I work every Sunday now too. But, I challenged myself last year to be intentional about going. And because as a mom, I wanted to make sure that certain values and whatnot, it would be instilled in our son. And we talk about it here on GSL all the time, how, influence, how much all of our lives are influenced by our childhood, right? And so as the mother, now, yes, my husband is the head of our household, X, Y, and Z, but while he is in this place of, when it comes to this spiritual guidance situation, right, I have to, right, go ahead and do my part to make sure that our son will get the spiritual values and whatnot that he needs. So with that being said, I every now and then, sure, I'll talk to my husband. Sure, I invite him, X, Y, and Z, and he's made a point to come. Some of the times that I've invited him, things like that. But I'm not out here nagging him about, coming. You know what I'm saying? I'm not out here, making a big stink every Sunday or something like that. At the end of the day, what I have to do as a wife is pray for him. Go to God about him. You know what I mean? I have to continue to do that in that area, because at the end of the day, everybody has to work out their own salvation with fear and trembling. Everybody's on their own journey and things like that. And so, sure, I have influence, right? Sure, we have conversations. I'm sure whatever I share may encourage and inspire him, X, Y, and Z. But at the same time, he's the man that has to make his own decisions. So I hope that encourages and inspires us today on how we should handle different situations and whatnot. Like, you can't force anybody, right, to do and be what you think they should do and be. But you can pray for them, right? God can work with everybody and anybody. And so a lot of times we're called to do that. Women, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you're just in that person's life to pray for them, to help them get to the next level, or whatever the case be. And you don't have to nag and bother them and argue and all that type of stuff. You don't have to do any of what you see the world promoting women and to be. You don't have to be any of that. You can be humble, right? You can be meek. I know those things don't seem to be, oh, we don't like those words, but you can be soft-spoken or whatever the case may be and still get the job done. We are very influential to our men and to our children, and that's the juice. That's the juice. The Bible verse of today is 1 John 1:7. It says, "But if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship one with another, and the blood of Jesus Christ, his son, cleanseth us from all sin." Friends, I hope you all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspirational juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye. Did you know that you can support us for just 99 cents a month? That's right, friends. You can support everything that we do here at GSL for just 99 cents a month. Take a look around wherever this post is. You might see a link or maybe even a button that says support. Go there, check out the options, consider supporting us because, we enjoy bringing you all the daily inspiration as well as the weekly talk show, but we have much, much more to come. Thank you so much for the consideration. Bye-bye.